I was walking home from school, feeling the warm sun on my face, and I had this cheerful little smile because it had been a good day. My backpack bounced on my shoulders as I walked along the familiar streets. As I kicked a small pebble along the path, my thoughts wandered back to the test I had taken that morning. I wondered if I had done well, my mind buzzing with little doubts and hopes. Then, something unusual caught my eye. A narrow little street I had never noticed before seemed to glow softly at the end of the road. Curiosity prickled through me, and I felt my heartbeat quicken. At the end of that mysterious street, a shop appeared that I had never seen before. Its sign read, "Timeless Treasures," and warm golden light spilled through the windows. It looked magical, almost inviting me to step inside. I pushed the door open carefully, and the bell jingled. Inside, the shop was filled with ticking clocks and watches of every size. My eyes widened as I looked around. Shelves stacked with shiny brass gears, spinning pendulums, and gleaming pocket watches. Then I noticed it. Resting on a velvet cushion was a glowing golden wristwatch. The light reflecting from it made my eyes widen even more. I felt a strange pull toward it, like it was calling to me. I reached out my hand and gently touched the wristwatch. Warmth spread through my fingers, and the golden glow seemed to shine brighter, wrapping around my hand and wrist. My heart raced in excitement. Suddenly, golden light and spinning clock hands swirled around me. Everything blurred and twisted, and I felt like the air itself was moving backward, like time itself was rewinding around me. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the shop anymore. I was back in my classroom, earlier that day. The desks, the chalkboard, the familiar scent of the room, everything was exactly as it had been that morning. A smile spread across my face as I realized what had happened. The wristwatch! It had taken me back in time. I felt a surge of determination. This was my chance to do things differently. I picked up my pencil and focused harder than ever during the test, my hands steady and confident. I knew exactly what I needed to do this time. Each answer felt like it had been meant for me to write. When the teacher collected our papers, I looked around and felt a rush of relief. I had done my best, and I felt proud of myself. I glanced down at the glowing wristwatch on my wrist and couldn't stop smiling. "This watch can really go back in time," I whispered softly, feeling both amazed and excited. The golden light sparkled around it, magical and alive, almost like it was winking at me. I imagined all the mistakes I could fix, all the moments I could redo. Little floating thought bubbles appeared in my mind, showing me ways to make things better. My imagination ran wild with possibilities. Confidence filled me as I grinned. I could fix everything now, I thought, feeling unstoppable. The world suddenly seemed full of opportunities, and I was ready to explore them. I pressed the wristwatch lightly, and I could feel it humming on my wrist, ready to take me anywhere, any moment I wanted. Time itself felt like it was in my hands. I began testing the watch's powers, rewinding moments with a joyful laugh. Each little rewind made me feel braver, happier, and more in control of my choices. Golden clock hands spun backward around me, filling the frame with bright light. I jumped with excitement, imagining all the things I could change and improve. Every little mistake became a chance to learn. I pictured all the mistakes I could fix, the small ones, the ones that mattered most to me, and my mind filled with glowing thought bubbles showing better outcomes. Pride swelled in my chest as I stood tall, the sunset casting a warm glow behind me. I felt like I had discovered something truly incredible. I looked down at the wristwatch again, its magical glow reflecting softly on my face. Every tick felt like it held a secret, a promise of adventures yet to come. Sparkles swirled around me as music rose, carrying a magical energy that made my heart beat faster. I could hardly believe that such a gift was mine. Above me, floating text shimmered in the air. A magical gift of time. It seemed like the universe itself was acknowledging what had happened. I whispered softly, "Time is a gift," feeling a mixture of awe and responsibility. The world felt bigger and more magical than ever before. I was doing my homework at the kitchen table when, oops, I knocked over my milk. It splashed all over my notebook. My heart jumped. Mom was going to be so upset. Then I remembered. I had the magical wristwatch. I pressed the glowing wristwatch quickly. Golden sparkles swirled around the table, and the spilled milk began to rise off the pages like it was alive, spinning backward in slow motion. The milk floated right back into the glass. My notebook was dry and perfect again. I couldn't help but grin. "This is awesome," I whispered, watching the last golden spark fade away. Later that day, I was walking through the living room when my elbow bumped a vase. It tipped, wobbled, and crashed into 1,000 tiny pieces on the floor. My stomach sank. Without thinking, I slammed the wristwatch button. Golden light flashed, and the broken pieces danced through the air, spinning back together until the vase stood tall again, like it had never fallen. I sighed in relief and smiled proudly at the perfectly fixed vase. The sun poured through the window, making it sparkle. I couldn't believe how easy it was to fix things now. Then I remembered something that made my chest ache. I had totally forgotten my best friend Liam's birthday yesterday. I felt so guilty holding the gift I never gave him. I pressed the wristwatch again, heart racing as golden light filled the room. Time began to rewind, the days spinning backward like pages in a storybook. When the light faded, it was Liam's birthday morning. I ran up to him with the bright wrapped gift in my hands. He looked so happy to see me. Liam hugged me tight as confetti flew around us. We laughed, and for a moment, I felt like the best friend in the world. Everything was perfect again. After that, I used the wristwatch for every little mistake. Spilled juice? Rewind. Tripped over my own feet? Rewind. Dropped a book? Rewind. Every problem vanished in a swirl of golden sparkles. I grinned proudly at the watch glowing on my wrist. I felt unstoppable, like I could fix anything. The sunlight behind me made me feel like a real hero. At school, I walked through the hallway with my head high. The watch shimmered softly, and I felt like I had a secret power no one else knew about. Then, oops, again, I tripped and my lunch tray went flying. Food splattered everywhere. Everyone gasped, but I wasn't worried this time. I pressed the watch, and golden light filled the hallway. Time rewound perfectly. My food floated back onto the tray like magic, and everyone blinked in surprise. I brushed off my shoulders and smiled, pretending nothing had happened. "Easy," I whispered to myself. I couldn't believe how perfect life was now. In class later, the teacher asked a question I didn't know the answer to. My stomach twisted nervously as everyone looked at me. Quickly, I pressed the watch under my desk. The moment rewound, and the teacher asked the question again. Like magic, I got a second chance. This time, I answered confidently, and she smiled proudly. My classmates nodded, impressed. I couldn't stop smiling. The wristwatch made everything so easy. I can fix everything now, I thought happily. I felt like nothing could go wrong as the magical glow surrounded me again. But then, things changed. Liam and I argued about a broken toy. I got angry and shouted. My words hurt him, and I saw his eyes fill with tears. Panicking, I pressed the wristwatch again. Time reversed, the toy reassembled, and our argument disappeared. But something inside me didn't feel right. Even though I had fixed the moment, I still felt guilty. The rewind couldn't erase how bad it felt to hurt my friend. My heart felt heavy. I sat alone on a park bench at sunset, turning the glowing watch in my hands. It looked so beautiful, but now I wasn't sure I should keep using it this way. The glowing light shimmered on its surface, showing reflections of every mistake I had rewound. The hum of magic sounded quieter, softer, almost sad. Then glowing words appeared above the watch. Time is a gift, use it wisely. I stared, unable to believe what I was seeing. My eyes widened. For the first time, I understood. Maybe the watch wasn't just for fixing mistakes. It was meant to teach me something. As I walked home under the orange evening sky, I thought about what time really meant. Maybe it wasn't about changing things, but learning from them. That night, I lay in bed watching the wristwatch glow softly on my table. My mind was full of questions, but my heart felt peaceful. I whispered into the quiet night, maybe time isn't meant to be changed. The stars twinkled outside, and I closed my eyes, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring.
The next morning, sunlight spilled across the neighborhood. Birds chirped cheerfully as I ran down the sidewalk, my backpack bouncing behind me. I held the glowing magical wristwatch tightly in my hand, grinning. Today felt like it was going to be amazing. At school, everyone was laughing and chatting. I sat at my desk, smiling proudly, sneaking a glance at my magical wristwatch. It felt like my secret superpower, a little glow of magic that only I knew about. As the teacher wrote math problems on the board, I couldn't help but daydream. The glowing wristwatch peeked from under my sleeve, sparkling faintly with golden light. I wondered what else I could do with it, what new possibilities time held. But then, click, I accidentally pressed the wristwatch. Instantly, the entire room froze. Chalk hung in midair, papers stopped fluttering, and even my classmates were motionless. My eyes widened. I had frozen time. I stood up slowly, amazed. Everything around me was still. I waved my hand through the floating chalk dust, watching it sparkle. The golden glow from the wristwatch reflected across my face. It was both beautiful and a little scary. As I moved through the frozen classroom, I bumped into a floating glass of water. It tilted and began to spill, but the droplets hung perfectly still in midair. My mouth dropped open. What had I done? Panic rose in my chest. I twisted the wristwatch dial, trying to undo it. Suddenly, golden energy burst out, and time snapped forward too fast. Water splashed everywhere, papers flew, and everyone gasped in confusion. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. Everyone stared at me. My teacher frowned, classmates whispered. I wished I could rewind that moment too, but for the first time, I hesitated. Maybe rewinding wasn't the answer this time. Under my desk, I looked down at the glowing wristwatch. The golden light flickered nervously. I whispered, I didn't mean to mess it up. The watch hummed softly, almost like it was alive, and sad for me. When recess came, I ran outside, heart pounding. I hid behind a big tree, clutching the wristwatch in my hands. Sunlight flickered through the leaves as I stared at it, thinking about all the times I'd used its magic. As I sat there, memories began to swirl in my mind. The milk I'd spilled, the broken vase, the argument with Liam. Each moment played like a movie above the wristwatch, glowing softly. I'd fixed everything, but learned nothing. The golden light around me shimmered. Suddenly, all those memories, every rewind, surrounded me like glowing orbs. Each one showed my mistakes vanishing too easily, without consequence. My heart felt heavy. Then, a golden light rose from the watch, forming a tall, kind-looking figure, an old clockmaker's spirit with gentle eyes. Gears floated around him like stars. I gasped softly as his voice echoed, calm and wise. Time isn't meant to be changed, Ethan. the spirit said, his voice deep and kind. It's meant to be lived. His golden aura wrapped around me like sunlight breaking through clouds. I swallowed hard, staring up at him. But what if I make mistakes? I asked, my voice trembling. The wristwatch pulsed softly in my hands, as if it was waiting for his answer. The clockmaker smiled warmly. Mistakes help you grow, he said gently. If you fix them all, you'll never learn who you're meant to be. The golden gears floated around him, glowing brighter. My chest tightened as his words sunk in. I looked down at the glowing wristwatch, its reflection shimmering in my eyes. Slowly, I lowered it. Maybe I didn't need it anymore. I understand now, I whispered softly. The golden glow began to fade around me, like a sunset melting into night. For the first time, I felt peaceful, not powerful. The wise clockmaker smiled and began to fade into light. As he disappeared, glowing words shimmered in the air. Cherish every moment. I watched in awe as the last sparkle drifted away. I stood under the tree, sunlight warming my face. The wristwatch on my wrist was now dim and quiet, just a simple watch. I took a deep breath. The world felt new again. I walked back toward school, feeling calm but determined. Maybe I couldn't fix everything, but I could try harder, be kinder, and make things right the real way. When I entered the classroom again, I walked up to my teacher and said, "I'm sorry about earlier." She smiled kindly, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I spent the next few minutes helping my classmates pick up papers and straighten desks. Everyone smiled and thanked me. It felt good, really good, to fix things without magic. At recess, I found Liam and handed him the toy we'd fought over. "I fixed it," I said, smiling. He grinned and gave me a high five. The sunlight made everything glow golden. We laughed together with our friends. I could feel the watch in my pocket, glowing faintly, not with power, but with meaning, a reminder of everything I'd learned. As the day ended, I looked at the sunset and whispered, maybe life isn't about fixing every mistake, but learning from them. The sky blushed orange and pink above me. Walking home, the golden light danced on the streets. My wristwatch gleamed softly one last time, like it was proud of me. Birds flew overhead, heading home too. I smiled peacefully, whispering, "Every moment matters." The breeze brushed through my hair as I looked up at the glowing horizon. And as I walked down the street, golden sparkles floated in the air behind me, quiet, magical, and full of hope for what was yet to come. The next morning, sunlight spilled into my room, painting everything in a soft golden glow. I sat by the window, holding my magical wristwatch in my hands. The birds chirped happily outside, and I felt calm, thinking about all I had learned. I gazed at the wristwatch, turning it gently in my hands. Its golden gears spun faintly, reflecting in my eyes. I whispered softly, "Thank you for everything," feeling warmth and pride for the lessons this little magical watch had taught me. I stepped outside and walked through the quiet morning streets toward the old clock shop. Sunlight traced golden lines along the sidewalk, and I felt a mixture of excitement and nostalgia. Today, I was returning the watch I had cherished. The clock shop bathed in warm golden light welcomed me. Gears in the window slowly turned, and dust sparkled in the sunlight. I stepped inside carefully, the air filled with the soft ticking of thousands of clocks, each carrying its own story. I gently placed the wristwatch on the counter. Its glow reflected in my eyes, and I smiled proudly, feeling both happy and a little sad. This little watch had given me so much, but it was time to say goodbye. A gentle golden spirit appeared before me, the clockmaker I had met before. His form shimmered like floating gears, and he smiled kindly. "You've learned what time truly means, Ethan," he said, his voice warm and comforting.
I nodded humbly. It's not about changing the past, but making the present count, I whispered. The wristwatch glowed softly one last time, as if agreeing with me, before beginning its final farewell. Slowly, the wristwatch floated upward, glowing brightly as its golden gears spun. Then it transformed into a swirl of sparkles circling around me before disappearing completely. I felt peaceful, knowing its magic had done its job. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, smiling. Sunlight streamed through the windows, bathing the shop in warmth. Though my hands were now empty, I felt fulfilled, carrying the lessons of time inside my heart. Stepping outside, the morning air felt fresh and alive. I walked down the street, calm and determined. Sunbeams lit my path, and the wind brushed gently through my hair, reminding me that every day was a chance to do my best. I waved to neighbors along the way, helping an elderly lady pick up her groceries. Each small act felt good, and I realized that happiness didn't come from magic, but from simple kindness and paying attention to the people around me. At the park, I played soccer with my friends, laughing freely. I didn't need the watch anymore. The joy of the moment, the sound of their laughter, and the feeling of running under the sun was enough to make me feel alive. I paused and looked at the sky. Faint golden sparkles formed a shape like a wristwatch, slowly fading into the clouds. I smiled and whispered, "I'll make every second count," feeling the magic of time still alive inside me. Sitting under a big oak tree, I sketched clocks and stars in my notebook. Each drawing reminded me of everything I had experienced: the watch, the clockmaker, my friends, and the mistakes I had learned from, and the importance of living each moment fully. I wrote beneath my drawings, "Time teaches us to grow." A warm golden glow seemed to radiate from the page. I realized that the lessons I had learned weren't from magic, but from understanding that every moment mattered. As the sun began to set, I watched the horizon and smiled. Fireflies twinkled in the grass, and the neighborhood glowed with cozy twilight. I felt peaceful, knowing I had learned to value each second without needing to control it. Walking home, I held my notebook tightly, fireflies glowing along my path. I stopped at my door and turned to glance at the horizon, whispering softly, "Thank you, timekeeper." It felt like the world itself was celebrating my journey. I climbed into bed, moonlight shining on my face. My eyes grew heavy as I drifted off to sleep, feeling calm and happy. I knew that every lesson, every moment, and every friend mattered more than any magic I had ever known. As I dreamed, golden sparkles swirled around me, forming memories of my journey: the watch, the clockmaker, my friends, and the lessons I had learned. They blended into glowing stars, reminding me of how far I had come. The sunlight gently filled my room, highlighting my notebook. Written across the page were the words, "Every moment matters." I stretched and smiled, ready for a fresh start. I felt ready to live a new day fully, with hope in my heart. The sunlight reflected on my open notebook, where I had written, "Time is the best teacher." A tiny sparkle flickered briefly on the page, a soft final goodbye from my magical wristwatch. I walked out of my house joyfully, feeling the bright sky above me. Words glowed faintly in my mind. Cherish time, live the moment. I felt ready for life's adventures, carrying the lessons of time in my heart forever.